Welcome back, everybody. This is Jason Seacrest, and we are going to have some fun today doing a nice, cute little pig Adobe Illustrator tutorial. And this is going to be for brand new users, people that are looking to learn Adobe Illustrator. We go nice and slow so you can actually follow along. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to go up to the top. We are going to go to File, New. I'm going to be in a 5" by 5" format. Notice that I am in CMYK. If you want to choose RGB, that would be fine as well. And then I have a 300 ppi for my raster effects. So I am going to come down where it says Create. Just click on that. At this point in time, we are going to need our anchor point guide. So all of the resources are hanging out at jasonseacrest.com. I will give you a little iCard up at the top to click on, and you will also see links in the description. So we are going to go to File, Place. If you need to pause it for a second to get to the resources, that is just fine. I am in my folder. Everything has already been downloaded. And then I'm going to be looking for the Cute Pig Anchor Point Guide. I am going to click on Place. Notice that it's just hanging out. I'm going to drop it right on down. Up at the top, I'm looking for my Align tools. If you do not see them, look for this little icon. More than likely, you have Align to Selection. So you want to be aligned to Artboard. And you want to center it horizontally. Let's center it on the vertical axis, and then I'm going to be looking at my height today, and all I want to do is click on 5 inches, click on return, and now everything will fit nicely into our artboard. Do notice that I have constraint width and proportions. Now I am going to create a template layer today, and what I want to do is just come on over. Let's do 35%. I am in my transparency window. If you do not see the transparency window, what you are looking to do is just come over to the top, click on Window. Now I do have my Essentials Classic selected, so that is going to be pretty standard with what you are seeing on that right hand side for all the panels, but any window that you do not see, just notice that they are all going to be hanging out underneath Window, and you'll be ready to go. So I'm going to click on our layers. We have already adjusted the transparency, so it was right around 35%. I'm then going to click on Create a New Layer. Let's just double click it. I'm going to label this one Inking. I'm going to click on Return. Notice that it is selected. The template layer is locked out, and now I can hide that menu. Under View, let's do a little housekeeping. I personally like to hide my artboards. I just think it looks cleaner. Also, just pay attention that I do have my smart guides turned on, and I have all of my snaps turned off. So some of the defaults sometimes is snaps are going to be turned on. I am going to get rid of my fill. I have a black stroke for right now, and I think we're going to keep a black stroke this whole time. Now anytime, especially for brand new users, we go through every single one of these together. So it does get a little bit overwhelming if you are looking at this to start off with. We go through every single one of them. This is how easy it's going to be. We're going to click on the pen tool, and I'm just going to play connect the dots. So if you notice that you're getting a little stray, just click on Shift C. We are going to just drag and connect those so it lines up. Again, I'm going to hold down Shift for this one. Let's just do them all straight. Why not? So I'm just holding down Shift. Shift C, and Shift C is our anchor tool. So our anchor tool is in this little tear off. So I'll just drag that out. Here is our pen tool, P. Here is our Shift C, our anchor tool. And if you guys are ever doing the tool hunt, so if you're taking time and kind of clicking on stuff and trying to find out where the tools are, understand that it is actually a lot easier to just learn the shortcuts and look down at your keyboard since you're already familiar with where your keys are to learn the shortcuts. So there is a little bit of a thought process. And let's go here, and then we'll just finish it up. I'm going to click on Shift C again. So if you are noticing that things are connecting, just click on Shift C. A good habit to get into is just, I am a righty, so my right hand is on the mouse right now. But another good habit is just keep your left hand hanging out over on the left hand side of your keyboard. Your thumb should be hanging out right above your spacebar, since that is the move tool. And then all of the heavy hitters for our shortcuts are going to be right there in that corner. So all we are doing is just P, and then we are doing Shift C. Now let's just give you another little option. Anytime you see just 2 points, we can also just use that nice little segment tool. Now some of these were built with the pencil tool, so you might notice that there are a few of these that have a lot more anchors than we would actually need. So all I am doing is just dragging things out. Line segment tool, same process. Shift C, I'm waiting for it to say path. Nice and easy. Dragging that up, Shift C. So look for that little telephone. It can grab that path. Now why I also like showing you that you can grab the path, a lot of the frustration, especially with the pen tool or grabbing anchors, is just notice that you can in fact grab the path and move it. So as you're coming over and grabbing the anchor, just notice how quickly it switches over to the path. So as you're coming into your anchors, just notice that there's that little telephone. It's going to get all weird as you're grabbing. So I would say beginner frustration level, as you're coming over, wait for it to say anchor, then you can actually move it. Again, I'm on my space bar, so my thumb is pressing down my space bar. Let's just connect the dots on this one. I'm going to go Shift C. A good thing to just point out is anytime you see sharp corners, just grab that path and then drag it out. I think you will find that much easier than doing any other method. I see some circles, so let's do it. So I'm going to just draw out. I am on my ellipse tool. I am clicking. I am holding right now. I have not let go of my mouse. So if you just click, you'll get a little pop-up. So just click, hold, drag it out. I personally think I want to do, let's draw out a nice little highlight. I'm going to grab our ellipse, and I do want to do a little bit of a bulge effect. So I'm going to go up to the top where it says Effect, Warp, Bulge. I'm just going to zero out the bend. And I do want it to kind of go up a tiny bit. So let's go -20. That looks alright. So I am going to click on OK. Now I want to finish this effect. So up at the top, go to Object. Notice that it says Expand Appearance. So let's just finish that. I am going to go Shift X. That is going to just do this little toggle. So it's going to say Swap Fill and Stroke. I'm going to do the same thing, Shift X. I'm going to come up to the top where it's white. Now I want to group those two, and now I can just rotate. So grouping, you could either right click and do group, or you can come up to the top and then come down where it says group, or Control G, any one of those. I am just scaling it into place. Next I'm going to click and hold down my Alt and or your Option key. So I'm hanging on for dear life. This is going to be duplicating. Drag it right on over. I am actually still, so I have let go with my mouse. I'm still hanging on to Alt Option, and now I let go. So if you find that you are just moving objects, just really hang on for dear life, and that duplication will be a little bit easier for you. Now if you're highly frustrated with it, just understand you can always come up to the top, go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and you'll be good to go. Control 0 is going to be our zoom out. I see a couple segments, so let's get some of these segments in. Let's just make sure we have our black. So I'm just dragging those out. Shift C. Alright, I see a big monster pen tool. So let's do our big monster one. I'm going to say 1, 2, cheekbone, eyebrow, top of the head. And then notice that if it's still connecting, just go Shift C. And what we're going to actually start with is I'm going to hold down Shift as I drag this out. It might be a tiny bit off, but I think that is going to be what I am going to be looking for. I'm going to start over here in my cheek. So notice that I'm starting on the curves. This one's going to get a little bit funky, so just hang on to it. So I'm going to do a short one. Notice that I am on Shift C, so I'm going to click on A, which is our white arrow. And then I'm just going to drag out this one until it comes nice and smooth with the belly. Alright, I'm going to do Shift C again. And I'm going to be actually just looking at this bottom one. And most of this doesn't really matter. This is all going to get hidden. I'm just looking for a nice curve. I'm going to click on my white arrow. I'm going to click on Shift C, and then I can just click on that handle and it'll go nice and straight. So all we were doing is taking our white arrow, just adjusting each one of those until they line up. You will notice that there is some overlapping. That is acceptable. Now I'm going to click on our pencil tool. So I'm going to look for this little shaper tool, click on our pencil. I think that'll be a much easier way of doing this. And all I'm going to do is just trace along as best as I can. Let's just lay it on down. So as long as it's close, I think you'll be okay. Now let's just grab our circle. Let's just duplicate it out. Now I'm going to actually, so notice it's selected. Again, our duplication, that is when we are hanging on to our Alt option as best as we can. So I'm just going to drag that over. Let's just go Shift X for right now so we can see it. Let's just scale it around, just plop it into place. Shift X so we can get back our fill. Let's zoom in here. Again, we are just holding down Alt. And if you want to maintain proportions, hold down your Shift. Just zoom out. Again, spacebar is for your hand tool. Let's do a nice little pen tool for this one. Let's just plop down our points first. If you notice that it is filling in, I can go Shift X on the fly and it'll just switch back to our stroke. Shift C again. Just nice little curves. Grab the path for that one. Let's just do a nice little segment for this one. So notice that I am ignoring this point. Shift C, just drag it on over. So if you ever see just 2 points or 2 anchors, that would be a good signal just to do the segment. So if you say, hey, this is just going to drag right on across, Shift C, drop it right on down. Let's click on our pen tool again. And I think I can go all the way up on this one. So I'm going to go Shift C. Let's just drag it into place. Drag it into place. So we have one big pen tool. So just pay attention to as I am coming over. Sometimes you want to go a little bit long. There is a tendency that it likes to connect. So just pay attention to that asterisk. If it changes on you, just be aware that it is going to try to connect. And then, so notice that it's trying to connect. I don't know if you can see my anchor. So let's just slap it on down here. Shift C. Click on P. That one's all done. As I come over, if I want things nice and straight, remember, I'm just holding down Shift. Shift C. I'll line those up. Let's do 2 segments. 1, 2. Let's do one for the tail. Shift C. Slight little curve there. Alright, let's do 1 toe, and then we're just going to copy it right on over. So again, black arrow, hold down your Alt option. This one might not line up, by the way. That's okay. Just drop it down. I'm just scaling it. Just using my white arrows. Plop it into place. Let's take our ellipse. I'm just going to click on our pen tool. Let's just go 1, 2, 3. Grab that path. Now you are going to notice that there's a little bit of overlapping here. So I'm going to click on C. C is our scissor tool. And all I'm looking to do is snip any of this excess. So notice it's going to say path. So I'm looking to just cut. So now I can select it. The main thing to remember is if you are looking to cut, let's say a circle, just remember to give yourself 2 points and then it'll delete for you. I'm going to go Control 0. We've got 2 circles left. Oh, too easy. Let's just draw out a big one. These are all going to merge together. So just drag it out. Let's just go Control C, Control F. That is just edit, copy, edit, paste in front. Alright, Control 0, file, save. All of the hard part is over. So just click on save. Any of your pop-ups will be fine. So that's typically just default. I'm going to click on OK. So during this stage, we are adding on our thicknesses and we are also editing. So you're going to notice that we do have quite a bit of overlapping. That is completely acceptable. That is not going to hurt us. So what I want to do is I'm going to do our magic wand. Let's just grab pretty much all of our strokes first. Notice that the only things that are not selected are the eyes and the things that we have filled. And what I want to do is there is going to be this cap feature. So I want to make sure there is a cap on each one of our strokes. Let's just bump it up to 3 so you can see. You will get, and I'll just zoom in, you'll get these nice little round edges. So usually you'll have these flat ones. I want a nice round cap and it'll round out. So if you ever see designs that have nice round edges, it is right there. Control 0, and so everything is a 3 right now. I might just take some of these larger ones, and now we are looking for a little bit of variation. Let's just take these. I'm going to bump these up to 5. Just seeing what I want fat, what I want thin. 2 big ones on the body. Let's just bump those up to 6. I think we are done with this step. Holy cow, that was easy. Too easy, Jay. Let's go on to our next step here. We have done it. I'm going to go File, Save. So this is the one that I always recommend keeping. So the one that has our brushes, the one that we have done a little bit of time on. And the reasons for it is this is the one that is still in stroke form. So our very next little step is I'm going to select everything. Now we are moving into editing. And we are going to be expanding all of our lines. So our lines right now are all paths. As soon as we go to this next step of expanding, just pay attention to those lines. They are all going to turn into a shape. So all of those edges have now been expanded. Now while everything is still selected, let's just come up to the top here. I want to click on Pathfinder. If you do not see Pathfinder, just come under Window. Just drop on down. So again, anytime I'm over on that right hand side, if you do not see it, go under Window, and that's where they're going to be hanging out. And now I'm going to click on this divide. Now when I click on it, nothing should happen. What it's doing is it's snipping all of that overlapping. So the main thing to just remember is we need to ungroup after we divide. And you'll find out very, very quickly, because as soon as we click delete, your entire pig will disappear. So if your entire pig disappears, just go Control Z and undo. And this is how easy this is. All we need to do is look for any bit of that overlapping, and it is point and clicking. Point, click, delete. Now you might get these little strays, so you notice that there's these little ghost areas. I can select our little ghost areas with the magic wand. Just click on delete, and that'll get rid of any of those little weird random ghosts. Just pay attention to those overlapping. Now whenever we do the divide, thing to pay attention to is if we went long with our initial strokes, this becomes a very easy process. So I can actually be a little bit farther zoomed out, and I can go rapid fire looking for these little strays and then click delete. So all that was is just going around looking for any overlapping little strays, things that don't make sense, and then I'm pointing, clicking, and deleting. So very, very easy, very straightforward. What you might want to do right now is just pause it and then just go through and do a little boogie check on your own to just see if everything is making sense. My recommendation is typically to zoom out so the shapes will make a little bit more sense to you, especially if this isn't your cartoon. That's usually the thing that doesn't make a lot of sense. As soon as you move on to your own cartoon, you'll know, hey, this is what's in front, this is what's behind, or this is where the overlapping should occur. But we are all done with that step. That's how easy that was. So I'm going to go magic wand. I'm going to grab all of my black. I'm just double checking that that is what I want to do. It is. So I want to come over to Pathfinder, and just so you can see the thought process is we click our divide. So we have a bunch of little random shapes. I want those to all be nice and clean. So all of the black is going to get merged together at this point. Now while things are still selected, let's just come over to Object. Let's do Live Paint, Make. I'm going to click on K. And I'm just looking for anything that I want to fill in with our dark. I think there was that little stray over there. I think that was it. So while this is still selected, let's just do a little, doesn't have to be crazy hot pink. And all I'm looking to do is just get down some base color. So we are going to modify this. I am going to bring in some swatches. So while we are here, we're just getting some flat colors down. Now why I like the live paint is it automatically fills everything in, and it is also building a shape for us in the exact shape that we need. Under Object, notice that things are still selected, and I also just want you to pay attention to those little asterisks, because this is something that a lot of people will forget, that we want to expand. Once you get the little pop-up, that is a good signal. And then while everything is still selected, just so it doesn't fight you, it likes to group multiple times. So just notice that I ungrouped 1, 2, 3 times, and the idea is that I can come back and individually select. So as we start doing our shadows and new shapes, it does like to group, so just be aware of it. Now under our swatches, we are actually going to bring in a simple color swatch. So I am going to go into our color palette. I'm just going to look for ASE. Now in your folder, you're going to notice that there is a swatch libraries folder where all of these ASE folder or files are actually going to be saved. Those are actually swatch libraries. You can kind of see this fun little icon. What I want you to do is just when you open it up, just click on this folder, and you're going to notice that it popped right on over into our swatches. Once that happens, you can just get rid of it. That's how easy it was. So while I am thinking about it, let's grab our pink. I'm just going to do this middle value. Looking good. Now again, if you guys don't like my colors, you can color whatever color pig you would like. Let's do this. Now I'm looking at my layers at this point in time. I want to do this. So I want to keep all of this together since we are going to be adding on some simple backgrounds. This is almost going to turn into our background layer, so I want to leave that alone. But I do want to duplicate it. So I'm going to lock that guy out. Now on this one, we're going to almost just split it up. So I'm going to create a new layer, and don't worry, it'll make sense in a quick second. I want this to just be our flat color layer, and this is going to be our inking. So this is our pink. Let's grab all of our black. I'm going to go Control X, and that is just edit, cut. I'm going to lock that one out. Control F. Why I lock that out is sometimes it likes to paste back onto that layer even though it is selected, so just be aware that there is a tendency to paste back on the initial layer. So this is what it looks like, is we have all of our black on the top layer. If I hide it, this is what our color layer looks like. So it is just the color, none of the black. But that is what we are looking at, so everyone is understanding what our color layers are actually doing. So I'm going to still turn on our flat color underneath. Alright, so I'm going to unlock this one. Let's just call this one halftones. I have added some new textures to our resource folder, so you're going to kind of see that we've been playing around with those in the latest tutorials. And what we want to do is I want to just open up our halftone highlights. That is going to be in your texture folder. Let's just grab this bottom one. I'm going to go Control Copy, and I'm going to just paste it above for right now. Control F. Let's just lock it out. It's hanging out there. It is working. We are just doing a little bit of housekeeping first on this layer. I'm just going to hide it so you guys can actually see what we are doing. So this is just my pink. What I want to do is, just in case, I want to unite, is I want to drop down to compound path, and then I want to make. So if I just selected our pink, really nothing should have happened. All that is doing is there's some little floaters. So notice that this nose isn't really attached, this arm really isn't attached, this leg. So any of those, they're just not attached. So when we start moving on to this next step here, it can fight you. Let's just open up this one. Let's zoom out because it is going to paste down in the corner there. And all I'm looking to do is I'm just scaling and moving my halftone so it is just covering up all of the color. Now this is already a compound path, but let's just do it again just for the sake of argument. So I can go compound path make. Notice that I'm doing that for the halftone. I've already done it on our halftone highlight, but just in case it doesn't translate over. So we are looking at that right now. And this is what I'm going to do. I have them both selected. You are going to notice that it will say make mask. So I'm going to click on it. And then what I'm looking to do is click on invert mask. And now we have a nice little halftone in the shape of our pig. Pretty awesome. So this was actually from the comments, is could we use our clipping mask? And the answer is yes. So if it is fighting you, if it is bouncing, if it is not giving you a nice clean pig, just pay attention to those compound paths. And then a lot of times you just have to play around with invert. That would be another little thing. Now while this is selected, I'm going to go into my swatches and I'm going to color this our dark pink. So if I come back in, let's grab our inking layer. Let's pop back in our underneath layer. So just notice that we have a nice halftone going around our pig. So let's complicate your lives a tiny bit just because we want to. So I've got my halftone selected, and I just want to kind of show you something else we can do with this layer. Is right now we just have a swatch. What if I want this to be a gradient? So if I come in and let's do a radial, it's going to give me a nice radial gradient over my halftone. So what I want to do is, let's just say for this highlight, I want that to be our light pink. For our dark, so I'm just double clicking on our little swatch. I can either go dark, and I might say for this highlight, let's go and just do the same as our background. So it's going to go dark, and notice that it's almost fading out. So let's just pay attention to where our highlight was. So right by this nose was our highlight. So what I want to do is come over to our gradient tool. I'm going to click on it. So notice that it is selected, and I want to go right there, and I'm going to drag it out. And I want that highlight to basically mirror what the halftone gradient is actually doing. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's the halftone that is actually showing through our eyeballs. So all I'm going to do is I'm copying. So notice I'm on this base layer, and I just want to paste that, Control F, on the top layer. So I'm just taking that same thing that we already created for the white, and I'm copying and pasting it above, just so we have a fill that is above our halftone. Now I'm just going to duplicate this out because we are going to modify it. So let's just duplicate it. I'm just going to hide it. It's still there. So I'm going to take my brushes. I'm going to select everything. So just notice that everything is being selected. I want to color all of this. So our nice light pink, let's do it that color. I'm going to come over to our Pathfinder. We're going to just unite all those out. We are going to have a nice silhouette of a pig at this point in time. I'm going to go Shift B, and I'm just filling in those little strays. So all I'm looking for is just a nice little silhouette. I want to go to Object. I'm going to drop down to Path, and I want an offset path. You can also do a stroke. The miter, I'm looking at that little corner. I still want that little corner. I think I like that. So I'm going to click on OK, and while everything is still selected, I am just going to color that to a white. Could be an off-white as well. And let's just bring back in our things that are happening above so you can see what is happening here. Let's just zoom out. I want to grab a nice little rectangle. Let's change that to some sort of blue. So I'm going to go right click, and what I want to do is just go arrange, send it back. Our pig came back out. Alright guys, file, save. We are all done with our cute little pig. If you guys are liking the tutorials, definitely subscribe. Definitely put in the comments that, hey, I'm working on the pig, I finished. If you are struggling with anything, especially the halftones, the compound paths, or the transparencies, I do check the comments quite frequently, so just put that in. Don't struggle by yourself. Just say, hey, I'm working on the pig, and I need a little bit of help. But other than that, thanks for hanging out, and I will see you on our next step-by-step tutorial.